Hi, and congratulations once again on being in the mid-year mega marketing competition. Now, as I said to you last time, not everybody's up for this kind of thing because it drops you right in the middle of your baggage. So good on you for having a go. My job today is to see if I can ease your way through that baggage. To do that, I'm going to share with you my tried and true secret formula for converting prospects into customers. Now, I say secret, but you've probably heard me use it, so you might forget to be amazed by its brilliance. I just want to remind you to learn it as if your life depends on it. Certainly, your financial future does. So feel very okay to post how stunning this technique is on the Facebook page once you've used it. Now, before we get started, there's something critical for its use for you to understand. Most of us are crap salespeople. We're shockers because selling carries such a strong social stigma in our culture that if you mention at a gathering that you're a professional salesperson, you get to spend the rest of the night by yourself. Sometimes I think you'd get a better reception if you told people at a meat packers convention that you're a vegetarian. And what that means is that we won't study the process of making a sale, because who wants to study something that looks like it's what you do if you can't get a real job anyway? However, the circumstances of my life have conspired to help me see selling as one of the noblest of all the professions. So it all began when I had to convince my first ever woodwork class that it was worth staying in the room instead of destroying it, worth listening to what I had to say instead of starting a riot, and worth having a go despite initial lack of success. Now, the sale was beyond me because I was barely 2 years older than the kids that I was trapped in a room with. I was teaching many of them who were bigger and heavier than me, and I just stepped into my first classroom ever, and I was shaking like a leaf with fear. I had no confidence, no track record, and was in fact a nobody to the kids who'd been there for 5 years compared to my 5 minutes. Sound like selling? Well, so I went for what I now call the buyer-provided bribe. Now, during what I knew would be my only opportunity, I grabbed their attention and promised to teach them how to build kayaks, invite them to camp in my front yard during the school holidays, and paddle to their heart's content in the Warrenoa River, because I lived on the edge of the river. That was in exchange for behaving themselves for the next 3 years. Well, they bought it and I breathed a sigh of relief. What I didn't recognise back then is that what I'd managed to do was dangle a tantalising benefit that the student had to provide themselves. They had to work to get the opportunity to even have a go at it. They had to pay for it out of non-existent budgets, and then they had to labour away outside school hours. I just had to show them how. Something I had no idea about at the time, but at least I had time to figure it out. So here's the rub. What I just described might look like the ultimate sale, but it was really a negotiation, not a sale. It was, you do this and I'll do that. So I think the way to win in selling is not to sell at all. Just find out what they want and see if you're a fit for them. Now, most people are afraid to do that because, you see, if you're not a fit, just say so. You know, the worst clients are those who got sold by you. The best are the ones who sold themselves. So, bottom line, don't sell. Don't learn persuasion skills. Don't get tricky. Don't try and be someone else. Now, if you hear that, no wonder selling feels awkward and false. If you're not being authentic, no wonder you don't like it. You see, you've actually sold out. You don't need every client, even if you're good enough to convince them. You need the clients who fit with you and can see that for themselves. So that's the preamble. Here's the don't sell process. I ask these questions in this order. How long have you been working on this? What else have you tried? How much money have you spent? What sort of results have you got so far? And what will all this look like in 12 months if nothing changes? Now, if you imagine how that would play out with a smoker, they'll say something like this. Okay, so how long have you been working on this? Oh, well, about 20 years. What else have you tried? Oh, I've tried patches, I've tried cold turkey, I've tried electronic cigarettes, I've even tried the gum. How much money have you spent on this? Oh, I guess I've spent 2 or 3 grand, whatever. What results have you got so far? Oh, I'm actually smoking more than ever, so nothing. What will all of this look like in 12 months if nothing changes? Well, I guess if nothing changes, I'll still be smoking. Now, it's important that you don't dive into your proposition at this point. Most of us will drop into a 1940s salesman mode and try to blow them away with how great the product is, how it's never failed anyone, how it does everything we said, how it's cheaper than everything, and how it cures warts on frogs and it turns them into princes. What you have to do is stay real. That means asking some more questions when everything inside of you is screaming that you'll lose a prospect if you do. So what do? Try this. So, Mr. Prospect, tell me if this is true. You've been trying to lick this thing for 20 years. You've spent a fortune, you've got nowhere except a bit more cynical, and you're out of options. Now, you're likely to get agreement because you're simply summarising what they've told you. You don't have to remember anything, just repeat it back to them. Then say, okay, it's very possible that what I have will work for you, but there are several provisos and we can't proceed unless you're 100% in agreement with me on how to handle them. Are you ready to hear those things, those provisos? Okay, number one, it's going to cost you some more money, but you're going to spend that on the smokes over the next few years anyway. Are you up to speed with that? Now get a yes off the client. And don't go further if they don't agree, because you've got to get the money sorted out. Just come back to it. Number two, you'll have to do everything I tell you to do when I tell you to do it, or I'm going to wash my hands and walk away. Are you up to speed with that? Now, once again, don't proceed if you don't get a clear commitment at that point, because they're not going to do what you need them to do. Number three, when this works as I say it will, you'll need to say so in front of a camera in your own words. Are you okay with that? Okay, cool. I'm pleased to be working with you. How do you want to settle up? Credit card, EFT, cash, what works for you? So there you go. If that sounds or looks like a sales process as opposed to just outlining the possibilities and probabilities, then I've done a bad job of recommending that you just be you, because that's the secret. So that's it. Get out there and help people by offering them what I call the buyer-provided bribe. It's fun, it's easy, and above all, it's authentic and it keeps the pressure off you. Have a go, you'll enjoy it.